Hey, true believers, do you love politics? Do you love comic books? Well, Superhero Politics is for you. It combines the comical nature of politics and the political nature of comic books. Join us, like, share, and experience the world of comics and politics in a way that you never have before. This is Superhero Politics, and I'm your host, Michael Holmes. What's up, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Politics. I am your host, Michael Holmes, and here we are with episode number 8, and we're about to kick off also our first YouTube. So you'll be able to find us at Superhero Politics at YouTube. And so as we're recording this, we're actually videotaping it as well. And so once this is all done, we'll upload the video once it's fully edited to YouTube. And so it's pretty awesome day. So I wanted to kind of get into this episode because it deals with a pretty touchy subject. And if you guys read the title when you read the title of this episode, the title will make sense now that we're talking about it. So what if you could say a word? What if you could say a word that when you said the word, it changed you? Like, what if you could say a word that would transform you and give you a new identity? What if you said a word that if you were able to do this, it would take power from others and give it to yourself, and then you would be able to use that power, and then even if you wanted to, you could distribute that power to others for them to use at kind of your leisure. Now, if we're talking about comic books, we're talking about the word Shazam. Shazam is one of the most powerful words in all of comic book lore. Why? Because it allows the speaker of that word to perform this ritual of lightning and then be bestowed with the powers of a group of God, pantheon of gods. Not just a god, but pantheons of God, like a pantheon of gods. So if you look at the word Shazam, the way it's spelled, SHAZAM, Shazam, phonetically. So you've got amongst this pantheon of gods, whoever speaks this word is imbued with the wisdom of Solomon for the S, for the H, the strength of Hercules, the stamina of Achilles or Atlas, stamina of Atlas, the power of Zeus, the cunning of Achilles, and then the speed of Mercury. So you get all these superpowers that are given to you by speaking this this word, this one word. So it's such a powerful word that it's even allows Billy Batson, who has the power of Shazam from the Rock of Eternity, from the Wizard Shazam, to even be able to distribute this word to his family. So now when his family speaks the word Shazam, they have power too. So, but Billy's the gatekeeper. Billy Batson is the gatekeeper. So he's the one who gets to decide who he allows to have that power. He's the one who gets to then determine who else comes into the family to then be able to speak the word Shazam and then gain access to the pantheon of gods that empowers him. Now, a lot of those people, they're not really blood relatives. So you look at the Shazam family, they're all kind of orphans. Billy's an orphan himself, so they're kind of cobbled together as a family. And so he's able to kind of pick and choose. They're a loosely group of people, and he gets to decide based on his stewardship of the power who to give it to. And so, but only he gets to do that. Only he gets to do it. Just him. Like nobody else. Like even the Wizard Shazam, once that power's been transferred, he doesn't even get to gatekeep that anymore. That's Billy. So obviously this is a substitute for another word. Now, this episode will be talking about the power of words, and we'll get into some other things and later on in the episode, and we'll talk about oaths and things like that and why these words are powerful. But throughout comic books, there have been individuals who have been imbued with such power that they release that power, they exercise that power by words. When you think about Zatanna Zatara, one of the most OP characters in all of comic books, she uses her magic by speaking words backwards. When you think about you think about the Shazam family, you think about Etrigan. You think about Jason Blood, who was bound to the demon Etrigan. The only way he can release that power is he says this oath, "Gone, gone, the form of man, give rise to demon Etrigan." And he says that, and that releases the demon Etrigan, who is an immortal beast who speaks in rhyme. His words speak in rhyme. He speaks in poetry. And so words denote power. But we're talking about Shazam, which I can't even think of another word in all of comic books, not Marvel, not Wildstorm, not Image, not anything that produces a being as powerful as Shazam or Captain Marvel, depending on, and I don't really want to get into that right now, but that produces another being with the power of Captain Marvel / Billy Batson. Now, you look on the flip side of this. There's another being as well, Black Adam, Teth Adam, who was the original bearer of the word Shazam. Now, he moved on to a different pantheon of gods that power him, but it was still the same. You spoke a word, and then you were imbued with the powers of a pantheon of gods. And so he abused that power, though. He abused that power, and it got him banished to another dimension. Now, I'm going somewhere here, guys. I'm going somewhere. I really am going somewhere. So, on one side, you have Billy Batson, who has the power of Shazam, and he's responsible with it. It's a powerful word. It's a powerful word. He's responsible, and so he gets to allow other people to use it. His family, the people that are in his group, the people that are most like him, the people that fit within his demographic. He gets to allow them, they are allowed to use the word and use the power of that word. Now, on the other side, you have one who abuses the word, takes the power, uses it for nefarious purposes, and because of that, he gets banished. Now, if y'all haven't figured it out yet, this is not about Shazam. This is not about the word Shazam. And for my younger viewers, and now listeners and now viewers, hey everybody, we're not talking about Shazam. We're talking about the word nigger or nigger, the N word. Now, a word that has immense power in our society. We're talking about that word that has been used to oppress, that has been used to belittle, to otherize, to torture and demean and break the spirits of black people in this country for hundreds of years. That word has now been reclaimed by my community and repurposed for power. We use it in a completely different manner. Now, I'm not saying that it's right, because it's a racial epithet. Now, it's a word that has its founding in racism and slavery and bigotry and evil but it's been reclaimed by the community that it sought to undermine and to terrorize. That's fine. Those things happen in society, you know, um, and it's unique to us. It's unique to us as black people. And so when you think about this word, when you think about how Billy Batson, who is the gatekeeper of the power of Shazam, allows his brothers and sisters to be able to use the word and empower them as well. Like, you think about that. Now, you think about Adam, Teth Adam, Black Adam, ironically, Black Adam, who uses that word, keeps it to himself, but he abuses the power that comes with that word. And so he gets canceled. There it is. That's the word. He gets canceled. And so recently, if you guys haven't known, there's a country singer, and I have no idea who this dude is. Never heard a song. Don't know him. Don't know what he stands for, what his music is about. Don't know anything about Morgan Wallen or Wallen or nothing. Don't know him. Wouldn't have known his name, but apparently he got on one and on video started screaming out nigga this, nigga this, nigga this, blah blah blah, whatever. And so the backlash was furious and was fast and furious. And that's another segue. I'm really not intending to do these, guys, because this is just coming up because, as we talk about Black Adam, obviously Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson will portray Black Adam in the upcoming DC films. But the backlash was fast and furious against Morgan Wallen. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. To be honest with you, if you're out here saying nigga, I don't really care about your name because you ain't in the group. You haven't been given the ability to speak the ritual to allow you to come to the cookout, to allow you to be able to use the word. Now, because that word has so much power, because Shazam has so much power, other people outside of the Shazam family have sought to control that power. Mr. Mind, Mr. Mind, Dr. Savannah, all these people have sought to control the power of Shazam. And so, even Crisis on Infinite Earth, Alexander Luthor, he said it backwards, Maza. But people have sought to control that word because it has so much power. Imagine being able to get the power of a god, to have the power of a god. But not only just one god, but 7. 6, if I'm spelling right. But imagine having that much power in one word. And so obviously people who don't have access to it want to get it. But that word, if you're not worthy to carry it or been justified to carry it, to speak it, it will cause damage and harm. But didn't stop people from speaking it anyway. Didn't stop people from pursuing it, even though they got destroyed over and over and over again. Even though they got banished, even though they got canceled. But what I want to talk about is how this word has been used politically in our society. Like it's become a third rail, but not really a third rail. It's become kind of a lightning rod, pun intended, between conservatives and liberals. Because if you talk to conservatives today, they feel like the entire world is being taken away from them. They feel like they have just been banished. Like there's nothing left for them. Like the entire world has been stripped away from them and that they have nothing left. So in their minds, when they get a chance to take something back from the groups that they think are brutalizing them, then obviously they want to do it. Because, I can never understand like the obsession of white America with having the ability to say that word. Like, why? Why is it so important for you as white people to be able to say nigga? Like, why? And I think if you go back and I always try to make sure that I relate this to the pursuit of power, which is one of the central themes in comic books. You always have this group, this individual or this group who is desperate to obtain power or to keep power. And so you look at how society now, that word is prevalent in a lot of things. And so, not to kind of fall onto their talking points, but you look at how throughout rap music, throughout other different mediums, you have the word being spoken, and now it's part of the popular lexicon. It's part of our social anatomy and our social vocabulary. But obviously, if you're not in the group, if you're not part of the Shazam family, you can't speak the word, and you shouldn't speak the word. And so the obsession of individuals outside of the Shazam family, and I'm going to call black people the Shazam family right now, to possess the word has led them to destruction. Now, this dude, Morgan Wallen, is not the first one. He won't be the last. If you go on TikTok, if you go on Instagram, if you go on anywhere, you have little white kids running around, older people like Hulk Hogan, was temporarily canceled, because he made this entire big argument about, well, why can't, I can't say it. Why can't, rappers say it all the time? And that's always the argument. And this is what they don't get, is that, yes, rappers say it all the time, but rappers are part of the Shazam family. Rappers are part of the Shazam family. They're part of the group that has been blessed to say the word. You, sir, are not Hulk Hogan. You, sir, are not Morgan Wallen. You, sir, are not random white TikTok girl. You are not part of the Shazam family. And you cannot say this word, because you saying it invokes an entirely different response, and it encapsulates an entirely different power set than when I say it. I don't even like it that much. I haven't said it in years. Like, I don't even like it that much. So it's not something that I look at and say, yeah, just because I have the power to do it, I'm gonna do it. Just because I have the power to imbue someone with it and allow them to do that I'm gonna do it. Like, here, I dub thee with the ability to say nigga. Raise your right hand and swear this oath to use the word nigga responsibly. Like, nah, like, that's dumb. But what we're going to do is we're going to see this now, just like we see everything else, is a political struggle. It's now become a political struggle. It has now become a position of whether or not you are conservative, or whether you're a liberal, or whether you're a Republican, or whether you're a Democrat. Like, just like everything else, we've taken this word and we've divided ourselves over the use of a word that shouldn't be controversial, because it's only supposed to be by one group, by one family. Now, if we, the Shazam family, want to have, an internal debate on whether or not this word still holds any value to us, then yeah, let us have that. Let us have it. Let that reside within my family. I shouldn't be having to debate this word or the use of that word on the floor of the Senate or in political debates on Facebook. Matter of fact, I shouldn't be debating on Facebook anyway. But that's not the point. That's neither here nor there. Because the word resides, just like Shazam, in a family, should be distributed by the family. And if it ultimately gets to the point to where, it becomes, a word that's no longer even valuable to us, let us decide that. But this is better. This is better than having to go through who is canceled and who's not. And this is solely because what you're finding among white people who are mostly conservative is that they feel like they've been banished. They feel like they've been canceled. They feel like because we have the power to disseminate this word, that we also have the power to cancel them as people. But that's not what's happening, because white people, Morgan Wallen didn't get canceled by black people. We don't know who he is. Morgan Wallen got canceled by his record label. Other white people canceled him. Other white people looked at him using a word that he did not have the power to use, and they banished him. Not really, because, in my research, I found that, his records and his videos and apparel and merch and whatever it is just went through the roof because you all white people rallied around him. I mean, so did he? He didn't really get canceled. Other words recently that have power, words that are about another family, my Jewish brothers and sisters. Anti-Semitic words. We had Gina Carano, former MMA fighter turned actress, who was on who was with Disney. Who was with Disney. She was starring on The Mandalorian. And she got out there and got dumb. And she got fired from the Mandalorian, and she cried, "Oh, I'm oppressed. Oh, I'm so oppressed. I can't take this depression. It's being a Republican or being a conservative is like being a Jew in Nazi Germany." Like, what kind of dumb is that to say? Like, it's just dumb. Like, even if you think it, and this is the thing, like, even if you think these things, you should not say them. Now, you have the right to, and this is the thing about the First Amendment, like, you have the right of free speech, but you also have the right of the consequences that come with free speech. Like, this is the thing about conservatives that, is ironic and a little bit hypocritical. It's because you guys love the First Amendment, or at least you love to talk about the First Amendment. You love to talk about the First Amendment, and you say you love capitalism. You say you love it. You love the free market. You love to let the free market go unfettered and, unobstructed. But the moment that the First Amendment brings back first world consequences, and the moment that the free market returns the consequences of making bad decisions, then you guys cry about oppression. Like, she got out there and she got stupid and she lost. He got out there and he got stupid and he lost. It's not some nefarious plot by black people to take down white conservatives. It's not that. It's consequences. It is consequences. And see, here's the thing, conservatives. The reason why you're so pissed about consequences is because you never seem to have them. This is why you have no sympathy for black and brown people who are murdered in the street by police. This is why you have no sympathy for 12-year-olds who are shot dead in a park because they're playing cops and robbers. This is why you have no sympathy for when a man is choked out because he happens to sell loose cigarettes, or a 9-year-old girl who is pepper sprayed because she's having a manic incident because she's being abused by her mom. And she's pepper sprayed in the back of a car and handcuffed by 4 police officers. But yet, there's a 17-year-old murderer on the loose right now who traveled across state lines with a illegal weapon. He killed 2 people. He maimed another. Conservatives put up $2 million for his bail. And now they cannot find him because he flew the coop. And you guys held this guy as a hero. You put him up as a hero, and I'm talking about Kyle Rittenhouse. You put him up as a fucking hero. And now you're crying because you're facing consequences. When Mr. Mind and Dr. Savannah went after the power of Shazam, and they were not properly blessed to speak it and to wield it, it drove them mad. It drove them crazy. And so they were unable to properly receive the power. Why? Because it was never meant for them in the first place. Nigger is not meant for you. It's not. But, you know, when we talk about consequences, and we're getting into, I guess, the second chapter of this episode, when we talk about consequences and the power of words, when we talk about that, there is another group of words, like there's an oath. There are things called oath. And you speak these oaths, and it reaffirms your commitment to doing something. Now, this seems like primarily a DC thing, because I can't really think of a lot of different examples over in Marvel that that are so wordy. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not a bunch of things. Like maybe Thor, maybe Odin, when he says, whosoever touches this hammer, if they be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. Like, maybe that, but you don't say that when you pick up the hammer. But DC has a lot of words that evoke power. And this is one of my favorite ones. And being Black History Month, it is, and I would be remiss if I didn't, talk about, the titular Black hero of DC, which is John Stewart, aka Green Lantern of Sector 2814. And I remember that being spoken, and it was voiced by the great Phil Lamar, and it says, "In blackest day, in blackest day, in brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power, Green Lantern's light." And even though the ring was already charged, you would say this while you're charging the ring and the battery. Sorry, I flubbed that a little bit. In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power, Green Lantern's light. And so you're charging the ring, but you don't have to say that to charge the ring. Like, you don't have to. But every time John Stewart, and this is no disrespect to Hal Jordan, great Green Lantern, but bro, this is Black History Month. Obviously, I'm gonna talk about John Stewart, and then Cecilia Reyes, Cruz, and Simon Bass. The Lanterns of Color, and then we've got a new lantern in Future State, But I don't want to go off on a tangent here, rabbit hole. But obviously, I'm talking about John Stewart. Why? Because this this is an oath of power. Now, the power doesn't come from that oath. The power is already in the ring. But even the exercise, the power of the ring, the power comes from within the Green Lantern and their willpower. That allows John Stewart to create the constructs, that allows him to wield one of the most powerful weapons in the universe in the Green Lantern ring. And then you look at the lantern, the pantheon or the spectrum of the lanterns. You've got the blue lanterns and the red lanterns and the indigo tribe and all these different lanterns, and they all have these oaths, and we won't go through them now. But you have this this oath that reaffirms the Green Lantern's commitment to fighting evil wherever it may be. Now, there is another oath that is spoken that when it does, it turns the speaker into the most powerful being on the planet Earth. And this is in reality. And this is the oath of the presidential office. I, blank, do solemnly swear to execute the powers of this office to the best of my ability in service to country, so help me God. And I'll paraphrase there. But when you speak those words, to become the President of the United States, you are imbued with the full power of the United States military, of the United States economy, of the United States intelligence organizations, of the United States judicial system, diplomacy corps. Like, in every one of those is the most powerful, respectively, of its kind on the planet. So it's like getting your own pantheon of gods. Speaking that oath of presidential confirmation is almost like saying Shazam. Because you get the power of all of these different agencies imbued in you as a chief executive and commander-in-chief of the United States. It's the most powerful position on the planet. There is nothing, bar none, not king, not prime minister, not pope, not anything that is more powerful than this position. Why? Because you wield the most powerful entity on the planet. The United States, bar none, is the most powerful civilization that has ever existed in the known universe. Now, there could be the Kree out there, there could be the Shi'ar, there could be, the Skrulls, there could be, different entities out in the known universe. It could be, but until we discover them or they discover us, the United States is the center of the universe. It's the most technologically advanced. It's the wealthiest. It's the most military. It's the most has the most military power. It's the freest. Well, supposedly, even though we're 26 or something on the Freedom Index, but he or she who leads this nation becomes, by extension, the most powerful person on the planet. Now, what happens when the most powerful person on the planet becomes Black Adam? What happens when the person who speaks that oath and gains the power of the pantheon turns and abuses it? What happens? Well, we witnessed that recently. Unfortunately, on January 6th, after the inauguration, was a pretty dark day for the United States. It was a pretty dark day. I mean, in respects to democracy anywhere. But it was a pretty dark day because the current, at the time, now former wielder of that power, decided to abuse it even more than he already had. So when the power is being transferred over from one to another, that power normally is willingly transferred over. When Billy Batson says to Darla, "Hey, I'm going to give you power, the power of Shazam, the speed of Mercury," that is a willing transfer of power from Billy to Darla. But when Adam tries to come back and take the power from Billy, he tries to rip it away from him because he doesn't believe he's worthy to wield it. So what we saw was a president who was unwilling to willingly give over the power, even though it had been determined that he was no longer going to be the wielder. So what did he do? He directed his followers to the Capitol to attack the institution, which essentially the Capitol building served as the Rock of Eternity. This is where they were certifying the votes. This is where they were certifying the Electoral College to make it official that Joe Biden would then become the 46th president of the United States. So he sent his followers to attack the Rock of Eternity and stop the transfer of power. And people died, man. Like, people died. Like, people actually died in this coup, in this insurrection. People died. 5 people died. Not just 5 people died that day. But people, because this was such a traumatic incident, people committed suicide after that. Then you have some people who lost eyes, permanently maimed, forever. Why? Because you had someone who had become addicted to the power that those words imbued him with, and he was unwilling to give it up, even though the people had determined that he abused it and they were going to strip him of it, and they had stripped him of it. So what do you do? Because this is such a powerful position, because even those who no longer have the power, they currently don't have the power. There's a portion of that power that stays with them. Once you have wielded that power, you are forever amongst an exclusive club. You have some form of power and influence because of that, because you have wielded that power prior. Look at the influence of former President Jimmy Carter. He spoke the oath. Look at the influence of former President Bill Clinton. He spoke the oath. Former President George W. Bush, he spoke the oath. Now, the degree in which the power stays with you, it wanes over time. The further you get away from the time when you actually actively held the power, it begins to wane over time. Unless you continue to do great things with the power that you have remaining. So you look at President Jimmy Carter. He was not necessarily loved during his presidency, but his post-presidency, he's been extraordinarily powerful. Extraordinarily powerful. But for others, not so much. And so now that you look at that as what do you do when the former president refuses to relinquish the power? What do you do? How do you hold them accountable? The only tool that we had in our toolbox to do this was impeachment. You have a trial, You convict the president and you remove him from office. Well, we did that once, and he was acquitted by his followers. So even after this violent insurrection, we had to do it again. And once again, he was acquitted. So what essentially we said to the world is that here you have these individuals who have more power at their disposal than any other human on earth, and there's no way to check them. They speak these words, they're imbued with this incredible power, and there's no way to check them. There's no balance against them. There's no way to counter them. They can essentially do whatever they want. They are essentially gods because there's no way to check and balance. There's no way to hold them accountable. That's what we said when yesterday Senate Republicans acquitted Donald Trump for the second time for the abuse of the power that he received when he spoke the oath of office. They acknowledged that he abused the power. Mitch McConnell stood on the floor of the Senate and he said he incited this insurrection, he led these people, he was responsible for these people's deaths, and then he turned right around, went to the Senate floor, and voted to acquit him for his own selfish ends. Why? Because they want to continue to use the power that he will have remaining, even though he's been stripped of the full power. Former president, you will never be able to take that title from him. You will never be able to take it. As much as we may want to banish him to the nether regions like Black Adam was, we can't. He always is going to find his way back. And so what we do right now is now we have to try to defend our democracy against a pissed off, former empowered president who has been essentially told that there's no way to check his power. So we've essentially signaled to the rest of the world that yes, we are the gatekeepers, we as the voters are the gatekeepers of incredible power that we imbue to a single person who then turns around and distributes out to whoever he wants it to. And there's no way for us to check him. There's no way for us to check him and take the power back, essentially. Because what's happened now is because he's destabilized the source of the power so much that now he's empowered others to help him continue to degrade democracy. In Arizona Republicans are essentially creating a bill that says if we, the party in the state, don't like the outcomes of the elections, we can simply throw them out. We can throw them out and just pick other electors that agree with us if we're the majority. We can just throw them out. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you voted. It doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter what the outcome is. If we don't accept it, we don't believe it, we can just throw it out and essentially nullify the voices of the voters. So what does that do? If you're in office, if you've already spoken the oath of office, if you're there, if you've been imbued with the power of Shazam and you're in the office and you don't want to give it up, now all you have to do is to simply say, like Donald Trump tried to do, nah, man, I'm good. I'm good. Like, yeah, let's not run this one back. I'm good. So essentially nullifying the voices of the American people. And because Senate Republicans want to wield that power for their own selfish ends, and you got a bunch of them in there who hope to speak that same oath of office to become that powerful 4 years from now, because they decided that it was more important to have this power, that they were going to acquit him and essentially take away the only weapon that we had against the power. Now, if we were talking about Superman, I would say impeachment is a kryptonite, but I'm not mixing metaphors here because it's ridiculous. We've essentially signaled to the rest of the world that we're creating these literal gods and not giving ourselves a way to check them. True believers, we're in a power struggle. Because if we're talking about what conservatives want and what they actually believe, those things are not necessarily equivalent anymore. Conservatives used to say small, limited government. They used to say, less regulation. None of that stuff is real anymore. They want to maintain power. They want to maintain power based on stopping the demographic shifts of this country. I almost said white supremacy. I almost said it. But, as I think about that, I'm not sure if that's all of it. Because if you think about this, there is absolutely nothing that gets done for white people or what gets done in terms of white supremacy. And that's a whole nother thing. That may be relating back to my original topic, my original start to this episode. But I don't want to recircle back. But we're in a fight for the life of our democracy. And I don't want to be hyperbolic because I'm not being hyperbolic, because guess what? People died in an insurrection against our capital, incited by our former president, and he was acquitted yesterday by his Senate colleagues of his party. He was acquitted on all charges. He is free to run for another public office. He is free to run for president again. He is free to do all this. Now, he calls people to die, and there are literally no consequences, and he still retains power over millions and millions of people. Because he is the most recent bearer of the power of the oath, he still retains a massive amount of it. The question is, what are we going to do about it? Can we do anything about it? Is there anything to be done? Maybe a question for another day. But always know that your words have meaning, that your words have power, that your words can empower, they can depower, they can uplift, they can demean. So as you take the oath, remember, this is not about necessarily what you accomplish with the power. It's about how many people that you can uplift and rescue with the power that you have. Who you going to save today? Who you going to save tomorrow? Words have meaning. Words have power. And as I always say, in this biblical, there's power of life and death in the tongue. And when it comes time, remember, always speak truth to power. Until next time, happy Black History Month. And this has been Superhero Politics, and I've been your host, Michael Holmes. Until next time. What's going on, true believers? Thank you for your continued and growing support. If you're enjoying the content that we're producing here on Superhero Politics, I ask that you subscribe anywhere that you can find podcasts. That means iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. You can find us at Buzzsprout, and also on our social media at Superhero Politics on Twitter, at Superhero Politics on Facebook, Superhero Politics on Instagram, and Superhero Politics on TikTok. Like, share, join us, and if you would have any topics that you would like to share or just questions that you would like to ask me, you can send your emails to superheropolitics@gmail.com, and we'll do an episode where we answer your questions. Thank you for your continued support, and remember, always speak truth to power.